Hi Zoe, thank you so much for joining us for the podcast episode. How are you today?
Hello, Russell. I'm good. Thank you very much for having me. And you?
Yeah, doing great. Pleasure is having you in my show, and thanks for your time for being here. So yeah, today we have the topic which is like how to have a great relationship in business and personal life. So before we get to the topic, I'd love to know more about yourself. Like, how did you become an entrepreneur yourself and coaching other business owners?
Okay, for starters, I am an organizational psychologist. So I studied psychology and then I moved on to study human resources management.
Mhm.
Then I did a diploma in coaching and mentorship. Then I moved on to agile leadership. And right
Yeah.
now I'm doing my PhD in psychometrics of corporate culture. So it was, I would say, I was working on this subject with two ways. On the one hand, I was always studying, and on the other hand, I was also always working at the same time while
Mhm.
studying, which gave me a lot of business perspective and a more professional approach on the
Right.
subject of psychology. And it made it for me easier to relate both to what I'm reading in my books, but also to understand better the issues that my clients were sharing with me.
That's great. And how long have you been doing that?
I would say the last 5 years or something.
Oh, that's great. Half a decade now. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I started my company, Arts in Digital Media, about 5 years back, 2017. So yeah, time really flies. So yeah, let's get to the topic today. So we have in our hand, which is like how to have a great relationship in business and personal life. So why do you think is the most important part of our life to have a great relationship? Either could be a business or personal life.
Because for starts, human beings are social beings. So even those people that are telling you most of the time that they're loners or they are very introverted and they don't really need other people, we all need other people.
Mm,
Maybe not in the same amounts and maybe not the same kind of people and maybe not the exact same quality of people, of course, because each
yeah,
one of us is different. But for sure, everybody needs someone.
yeah, that's great. So in terms of like building the relationship with the other people, like what do you see like we need to improve on having like a great relationship with others?
For starts, open communication. I would say that the biggest reason why people fail to build healthy and stable relationships is because they take so many things for granted. So many.
Mhm.
A small, simple example. Let's say that you like flowers, and let's say that you would like your wife to buy you flowers.
Yeah,
You have to tell her because what's for you is important for your wife. Maybe it's not important, or maybe she doesn't like flowers, or maybe she would never think about it. So many times we tend to believe that people ignore our needs, but we haven't really expressed them clearly. The
yeah,
thing is that if I want flowers, I need to make it very clear that I want flowers by saying it, not by implying it, not by passive aggressive comments like, "Oh, this girl's husband brought you flowers. Why didn't you bring me as well?" But very clearly stating it. And
yeah.
then we can judge, we can evaluate the situation. Did this person listen to my need? Did they
Mm,
react? Did they respond or not? But in any other case, it's just us making assumptions.
yeah. So you think like the communication is a key factor for like having a great relationship, right? So either could be a business or personal life.
Yeah, for starts, it's communication in the sense that it needs to be open.
Mm,
Then another thing is that communication has also to be appropriate. Depending the person that I'm talking to, I need to be able to control how I'm going to pass the message in
yeah.
order for this message to get to this person. What I find lately, it's just again something that seems trivial, but it can create confusion. Because I'm working in English and English is my basic professional language, I tend to, change many Greek words to English. I'm originally Greek. And at this point, sometimes I talk to my aunt, for example, and I use so many English words that she
Yeah.
told me the other day that at this point, I can't even understand what you're telling me. I can't understand anything anymore.
Yeah. In we do like a misconception into like a business culture, like you probably seen yourself. Like we expect from our employees do better than us and like expect them to do certain way, do certain things, but we never actually told them how to do it. I never showed them how to do it. Like the communication wasn't there, and we're having like a high expectation over them because of like we thought like they're going to do it, but we never actually mentioned like the company culture or like why it needs to be doing. So how do you like create such a company culture, like everyone understand why you actually want them to do, and like what you can expect from them?
But for starters, you need to lead by example. So if you yourself are passive aggressive, or you yourself are very close and you don't share your thoughts and you don't share your needs, then you
Yeah.
can't be expecting other people to feel comfortable to do it as well. Because corporate culture, especially, is always top down, it's never bottom up. So
Mm.
whatever the leadership and whatever the management is promoting inside an organization, this is what people understand that is working, and this is what they're perpetuating. For starters, so if I am a manager, first thing I need to do is to be very clear with my own communication.
Yeah.
Second is to make equally clear my expectations from the people in my team and let them know upfront that I expect you very clearly to express yourselves. And, sometimes we say there is no dumb question,
Yeah.
but then do we really believe that, or do we punish the person that made a dumb question? So let's go back to do we really want a healthy culture? Do we really want people to speak their minds? Because that means that sometimes they might tell us something we don't want to hear, or sometimes they're going to have an opposite opinion. So we need to be very clear about that as well, and have a clear strategy in our mind when we're trying to build a culture that's based on open communication.
Yeah, it's so important, like we actually show them like being a leader rather than like being like a micromanaging every day to day, and like having like an open discussion at the beginning. It makes it so much simplifier what we can expect from a certain so and so, like if it's an employee, your spouse, your children, like having a clear conversation like these things I like, this thing I don't like, and what we can expect from other person, and like having intentional. Also like listening skills is like most important for as a leader, or like a being a home, as in like having a relationship with your friends, spouse. Like you have to have like undivided listening skills, because oftentimes we say we are listening, probably we're distracted by our phone, watching a TV, or like we're trying to do multitask. If employee comes and like they're sharing their problem with their boss or manager, and if you are checking an email or sending an email or like doing other tasks, and you're telling them like you're hearing or listening to them, but you're actually not. How important like having like a focused or like a one-way attention to give like other person, so you can be understood like what trying to they say.
Mhm. Now you open a very interesting angle, which is the listening angle when it comes
Yeah.
to communication. So there are two types of responsibility. The one type of responsibility is for me to very clearly express myself.
Mhm.
And then the second responsibility that I have is to listen to the other person when they talk to me.
Yeah.
So as a listener, I might be doing so many things wrong. When we talk about active listening, some simple things that usually get in the way. One, I might be thinking about other things. I'm not focused enough. You
Yeah.
talk to me, but I think my own stuff. Okay. Second, I might be very much preoccupied and have a lot of stereotypes about what you're going to tell me, which is also very common. I think in my head that, okay, Russell is, for example, overreacting. So whatever he tells me, I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
upfront that you're going to be overreacting again. Then another thing is that I don't know if this has ever happened to me, but it's very funny when somebody does it to me. People think that they already know what you're going to say.
Mm.
So, and because they know what they're going to say, they stop listening, they interrupt you, and they give you a response on their own. And it
Yeah.
might be completely irrelevant what you're saying. And of course, finally, we're all human. Sometimes we're not in a position to listen because we might be tired, or we might be, having something else in our minds. When it comes to listening, in my opinion, it's very important again to always very clearly again state to the other person your situation. If you can't listen, there's nothing wrong with saying, I'm pretty sure what you're telling me right now is important, but I don't have the mental capacity right now, or I'm not in a position right now to listen. I'm really tired. Can we do it a little later, or can we do it
Mm.
tomorrow? And then go back to them. And another thing is that we should be never putting ourselves in the position that someone else's emotional situation is putting us. Let's say that this person is stressed, and because
Yeah.
they are stressed, they right now need an answer from you. If you're not stressed yourself, and if you don't have an answer, you don't have to get stressed because of them and give them an answer. We always have the right to say, let me think about it, and I'll get back to you.
Yeah.
Or, okay, thank you, I listen to you, I'll take some time and get back to you.
Yeah, that's like interesting say to say like postponing and get back to them like the answer or what we're trying to say to them, like it actually gives you like time to think what kind of answer you're gonna give them, and like it gives you like a clear instruction like once they wanna move ahead. So coming back to like having a relationship in business world, like could be of the client, employees, could be vendor. There is so much relationship goes into it. Like there is like your CPA, your accountant, there are your lawyers. So in terms of like having a relationship and getting some kind of referrals or new businesses, what would you say to like our listeners what they can improve on in terms of like have a great relationship with them so they can bring on new clients, new businesses?
Mhm. For starters, I think I will go against the norm and the mainstream aspect that you always need to oversell yourself and that you always need to overpromise so that you make a good impression.
Mm,
Yes, if you sell yourself very well, you might make a good impression. But if this impression doesn't hold true in the future, in the end, you're harming yourself. So clients, in my opinion, are just other people as well. So
yeah,
what they want to know is what they can expect from you and when they can expect it from you. So in the end, you can focus on every strategy there is, but if you don't learn how to speak the truth up front and being accountable for this truth that you have to speak, then you can never have a healthy relationship with a client. And
yeah.
by default, you can also never form a stable and long-term collaboration with this client. Let's say that you're about to miss a deadline. Most of the people, what they do is they create false expectations in their head, unrealistic expectations,
Mm,
that although it's right now 12 and I need to deliver it by 2 and I haven't done anything, somehow it's going to be ready. And then the client calls at 5 or at 6 and they make up excuses.
yeah,
It's much better to call them when you realize that probably this is not going to work upfront and tell them, I'm really sorry, I thought we would have done it, it didn't work out, I'll make everything to have it by then.
yeah.
Most of the people, they don't get mad because we did something late. They might say that's why they got mad, but usually it's the
Mm,
lack of respect that trigger other people. So as soon as you own your situation, others usually understand,
yeah,
because this can happen to everyone. Everybody can lose a deadline. It's just that most of the people, they need to have some time and some room to organize their own lives. The sooner the better. If this is going to be late, maybe this client also needs to let someone know that it's going to be late, because maybe they need this something for something of their own. So the sooner you're clear about when they actually are going to have it, the sooner they can also prepare the situation.
yeah. Yeah, that's a great way to do that. Like I experienced the same thing with my businesses. We work with the marketing agency and things doesn't always go the same we wanted because so many variables there. Sometimes we run ads through YouTube, Facebook, and publishing the advertised creative and everything, it takes normally 24 hours. Sometimes it takes 7 days. So we have to be upfront with the clients, like what they can expect when what if the delays and everything, and we let them know in advance like this thing's going to be happen so they can expect different results. So like other people they do that, like they overpromise and underdeliver on their promises, like they're going to say they're going to do XYZ and they don't keep the promise, and they don't even uh, take the whole fault on themselves. They trying to give some kind of excuses or this, and actually that end up like having a bad relationship and a bad experience with the clients, and obviously they wouldn't refer to like a new businesses because they're having a bad experience themselves. So yeah, I totally agree on that, like what you just said. Just be upfront and be truthful, which is like the most important part. And so coming back to like a personal life will be like the most interesting. If we don't have like a great relationship in our personal life, obviously we can't be having great relationship in a business world. So what would you like recommend having a great relationship would be your family, spouse, friends, circle like you have? What is the top two things like you would do yourself?
Mhm. For starts, it's very interesting what you just said, and I also tend to say that people are not really buildings, and you can't separate the kitchen from
Yeah,
the office from the bedroom. So usually, the way we tend to behave in one environment is also the way we tend to behave in another environment.
yeah,
The change is usually that when it comes to business, we can't really choose our context 100%, and we can't
mm,
really choose with whom we're working. Therefore, the disadvantages of our personality are much easier to be exposed in a business environment.
yeah,
While in a personal life, you can always stop being friends with someone if they trigger you. Uh, okay, so as I said in the beginning, I would say the number one is communicating my needs. The clearer you can communicate your needs, the more the other people can respect those needs and respond to those needs, or even choose to ignore them. But you
mm,
can't really understand and evaluate what is happening unless you have actually made it very clear what your need is.
yeah,
Then I would say that a second thing is setting clear boundaries. This is something we also hear a lot, but what does it really mean? It means that you shouldn't be afraid to say no. And also, no is a full sentence. You don't have to explain this no. You don't have to create excuses not to go out because you're tired or when you're bored to do something. Sometimes you need to just say no, and
yeah,
that's all. No, I can't right now, but I'll think about it tomorrow. Or no, I can't answer right now. And setting clear boundaries is the only thing that, in the long run, is gonna make a relationship healthy.
mm,
And the third part, I would say, is conflict resolution is not the same thing as conflict management. So
right,
what most of the people are doing is they tend to just, put things under the carpet and swipe as much as they can under the carpet.
yeah,
And then something that could be a very, very small conflict about a small thing tends to become bigger and bigger over time
mm,
because you didn't respond to it and you didn't react to it when you had full control. For example, let's say that we are best friends and I don't like it when you touch my things. Okay, so
yeah,
one day we're in the same place and you take my phone. And I'm like, okay, Russ is my best friend. He just touched my phone. I shouldn't say anything. And then the next thing you do is you take my scarf and you start trying it out. And I say, okay, yes, that makes me a little more stressed, but okay, it's Russ. I
yeah,
shouldn't say anything. And then you come and you start drinking from a glass. And then I lose it. And I start yelling at you. At that particular moment, I am wrong to yell at you because in my mind, I yell about the phone and the scarf and the glass.
yeah,
But in your head, you have no idea what's happening and you just drank from the water and you have no idea why I'm acting crazy.
mm,
Therefore, the sooner I set the boundary about what's troubling me or what's challenging me or what I don't like, the more control I have on how am I going to set this boundary.
yeah,
If I do it soon enough, I have full emotional control. Therefore, I can be very polite, I can be even sweet, I can discuss about it very clearly, etc. But if I let it go and build up, I might lose it.
yeah.
So what I tend to say, and probably it makes no sense in English because I translate directly back from
No, no,
Greek,
no,
is
it
that
totally makes sense. Yeah,
no, I'm going to say an expression that I use that we need to burn bad behaviors from the roots. In the sense that when you have a plant that's not
yeah,
working and it's killing the other plants, you need to burn it from the root. So what I mean is that when something is annoying, it's not going to get better. So giving it more time, it's not going to make it better. It's just going to get worse and it's going to escalate. So the sooner you handle it, the better and the more possible is for the relationship to come back to where it was and continue growing.
yeah. It's like having a mindset of like whatever in your mind. If you don't like something, just say it rather than wait on it and make things worse. Then obviously small things turned into bigger things. Like you started off like saying like your phone to scarf, then like a drinking water could be next thing would be bigger things like they can move to your house and and there is no boundary to it, right? And you can kick them out. And because you didn't create the boundary, and we oftentimes make the mistake in our relationship as well, choosing a partner, we expect them to be certain way, do certain things, but at the beginning get into the relationship is everything is like a look like a fairy tale, and We don't actually have the communication. So I'll tell a little bit about my story about when I chose my wife. We did a Zoom call because we couldn't actually meet her. Like I lived a bit far from her. So we did a Zoom call, a couple of hours on the Zoom call, and before we just go engage in everything, just making sure like she understand like my value and what I can understand her values and everything. So we go through like a listing out few things on a white drawing board, and this things. I'm an entrepreneur. You can expect this. My business can run out of business. If you marry me, I wouldn't buy a house next 5 years. uh, would have like how many children I can expect, what you can expect from me,
Mhm.
these things, household chore I'm going to help, I'm going to do cooking, cleaning, and you're going to do XYZ. Certain things like we make the boundaries, and that actually helped us in the long run. Like we are married for nearly 5 years now, and we get great relationship, but obviously future doesn't have the guarantee how long we're going to be together and everything, but actually helped us in a understand more and like have the great relationship and communication because of upfront we set the boundaries like what needs to be done and what we can be doing. So people can same things they can use an example on their personal life, could be on your spouse, could be on your kids, could be your family members, your parents, your siblings. Also you can use the same thing on your business aspect of it as well. Do you agree on that?
Yeah, of course. But there's also another very common trap that people
Yeah.
tend to get committed with someone or with a situation under very specific terms. And
Yeah.
then, although the terms change to the point that they transform completely the commitment in the
Mm,
relationship, people don't want to acknowledge that, or they're in denial, or
yeah.
they're feeling a lot of internal conflict and they can't really make any change. And as a result, they end up still being committed to something that has nothing to do with what they agreed on in the first
Mm,
place. So another important, I think, angle I would like to put in when it comes to building and
sure.
maintaining healthy relationships is that, well, you can have a healthy relationship if you don't know when to end the relationship as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to let go because you've changed, or because the other person has changed, or because your interests have changed. And there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong. But if you don't validate your true emotions about, this is over, it's not working anymore for me, or for you, or for us, then this relationship, there's no way it's gonna keep being healthy.
Yeah.
Because people, when they're feeling under pressure and when they're in a situation that they don't feel very good about, they react. And there's also there's of course, like we said, you have the opportunity to react in a healthy way, which is set your boundaries and explain your needs, or even
Mm,
end the relationship because it's not working. But then if it's not working and you choose to stay because of denial, then there are passive aggressive mechanisms. There might be manipulation,
yeah.
there might be anger, and there might be all these negative emotions that you could have avoided by just, having let go when you should have let go. And there's nothing wrong with letting go.
Yeah, totally agree on that. Like things changes. Like I said at the beginning as well. Like when having a talk on relationship, you don't know how things gonna last because her perspective, my perspective could change anytime and any day. Like that great relationship could end and in a way. So no one actually holds the future because what you agreed on 5 years back, 10 years back, 20 years back, that can change because the circumstance changed. So yeah, Zoe, you're coming to end of this podcast. So those who's listening, if anyone wants to learn more about you and your work, where's the best place to find you?
My LinkedIn, it's Zoe Fragou. We can also link it to the podcast. And feel free to share with me any questions or any feedback about the day. I'll be very happy to talk to you and connect.
Yeah, that'll be great. Thank you so much for your time. I wish you best of luck with your business and career as well. I hope you have like a wonderful day ahead. So yeah, uh, thank you guys for joining me in this podcast. I hope you enjoyed it and got some value from it. Until then, I'll talk to you in the next episode. Take care.